Today we are going to continue with our next session, forest. We have seen what is a forest in our last class, uses of forest. So let us once revise what are the uses of forest. Forest is a storehouse for the resources. We can say that forest is a storehouse of different resources because we get many resources from the forest, many minerals, many food materials, medicinal herbs, and many more things we get from the forest. So forest can be taken as a place where we get different things, a place where we can survive, we can get food, we can get like wood, charcoal. You take the example of people living in the villages. What they do, they simply collect the charcoal from the forest. They visit or they go to the forest, collect the wood from the forest, use it as a charcoal. So that is one of the uses of forest. So today we are going to see about location and before using, let us see how to protect the forest. Why should we protect the forest? How to protect the forest? Why should we protect the forest? These are the major questions. So how to protect the forest? A simple thing. Don't go for afforestation, deforestation. These are the two words connected. Like when you go to the forest, go on cutting the trees. What happens? After a certain period of time, you will find a tract completely barren. What we told in the earlier classes, what is a forest means? A place where we find large number of trees, plants, animals. So if you go on cutting the trees, what will happen? The land will become barren, treeless. When trees are not there, we won't get proper oxygen also. That is a major problem what today we are facing. We are facing a problem of not getting a fresh air. We say that we are breathing polluted air. How it is polluted? Many industries are set. Where they are established? In a barren lands where once upon a time there was a forest. So when you go on cutting the trees for different uses, the level of forest, the area covered by the forest will go on slowly decreasing. So that we have to avoid. So how to protect the forest is avoid cutting the trees, avoid reducing the forest area, try to increase the forest area. Next, why should we protect the forest? As we saw, forest is a source of life. If we don't protect it, we don't get oxygen, which is a major source to have a life. Not only oxygen. See, there are many animals, many different species of animals where we can find only in the forest areas. If you go on cutting the trees, what happens to those animals which survive in the forest? They lose their shelter. So it is not only important for oxygen, but it is important for survival of every human being, animal on the earth. So protecting a forest is very important thing in our life. So how to protect, why to protect is clear. I hope everyone understood these two things. How to protect? You should encourage afforestation. Increasing the forest area is very important. Next, why? We should increase the forest because it's a source of minerals, source of life for the animals as well as for the human beings. So let us see location of the forest. Where do we find the forest? Don't you think this is a typical question, location of the forest? Can we say that forest is situated in this particular place, only in this particular area? Okay. We then define that so and so place is a forest, so and so region is covered by the forest. If you take some 100 years ago or earlier to that, so if you see forest 100 years ago, wherever you see, whatever region you see, everywhere you find forest, because most of the region on the earth is covered by the trees. That means most of the area is covered by the forest. So there are many regions on the earth like plains, plateaus, mountains. Even the mountains are covered by some kind of forests. Different forests, different types of forests are there. We'll find those what are the types of forests. So we see location of the forest. So when we talk about location of the forest, there is no prescribed particular region. We can say once upon a time everywhere there was a forest, and very few regions where people established villages or settled life was started. So earlier to that, every place, most of the region on the earth is covered by the forest. So as a human life started, settled life, they started cutting down the trees, establishing the shelters, which slowly started decreasing in the forest area. So by the beginning of the 20th century, if you see, forests were limited to some particular areas. These are the regions where we find the forest. These are the regions where we find cities and towns. These cities and towns, what we talk about today, 100 years before, how they were. These cities were not there. These towns were not there. These places were also filled by forest only. Just think about the region where you live, village or town. Just ask your grandparents, is that village or town where you are living was same 100 years before, or how it was? So they will definitely say that this was a region where very few houses were there, and most of the region is covered by the trees and plants. So expansion of colonies, expansion of urban centers led to decrease in the forest area. So when we talk about the location, it's a typical question. Once upon a time where forest was there, today we don't find that place, that location as a forest. We find them as a towns or cities. So day by day it is decreasing. The area of forest is decreasing, which is not good for our survival. We have to maintain certain standards, certain level of areas, certain percentage of region should be covered by the forest. Then only the proper ecological or environmental balance can be maintained. So when we talk about forest, so I hope location you understood. Yes. So we have seen how we can protect the forest. We have seen why we have to protect the forest. We have seen what is the location of the forest. So forest cannot be confined to a particular place. a place or a region where 100 years before or before earlier to that forest used to exist. Today we may not find that. So location is something critical. Today limited regions, limited areas only there where forest exists. Or in simple we can say that earlier everywhere it was a forest. Very few regions were covered by human beings or settlements. But today we can say that simply the regions which are not useful for human settlement are left as a forest. So that is a scenario in the human beings. That is a attitude of human beings which it is must we have to change it. We have to think about how to protect the forest. Then only environmental and ecological balance can be maintained. So our next topic is types of forest. So this we will continue in our next session.